Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Staying safe from all this crazy weather we've been having, not only today, but the last several days. A lot of severe warned storms out there as I speak. We've even had some tornado warnings, a confirmed tornado in Pennsylvania. It's funny, I mentioned that, most models were showing like an area of supercells in central and east central PA, and that's kind of what materialized today. And we ended up having a confirmed tornado in a town in Pennsylvania about an hour or so ago, and it caused damage from pictures I'm seeing on Twitter. So, it was a low tornado risk day, but it's still a risk. So that's why we have to stay alert. If your county goes under a tornado warning, make sure you kind of know what's going on, right? So you never know when that 2% risk, it could be right in your neighborhood. So definitely continue to stay aware of what's going on throughout the next several hours into the overnight hours, and then things will kind of simmer down as we lose that daytime heating. But here in this video, we're here to talk about what can happen really over the next several days. I'm expecting activity to continue to be firing up out there, but the threat could shift to a different area of the country. While we will still have a chance for strong to severe storms in areas of the South, the Mid-Atlantic, we are already watching a cold front that's very slowly going to advance across the northern portions of the country, talking about the high plains, eventually into the upper Midwest, across the central plains, northern plains, just plains in general, right? So we're going to have rounds of severe thunderstorms as this boundary basically sinks in general southeastward. So we're going to talk about that in this video, try to give our best guess at it. Of course, we're more confident on what time frame is a little bit closer, which would be tomorrow into Tuesday, which is your 4th of July. But we'll try to figure it out for you folks and keep you guys aware. I know there's a lot of people have certainly some outdoor activities going on, certainly for the 4th of July. So we'll try to give you an idea. And as we get closer to the 4th of July over the next 48 hours, we'll continue to revise these updates, if you will. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over? As always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. If you hear a rumble of thunder in this video at any point, it was kind of one of those days where we only had about a 20% chance of storms, and one of those storms just happened to pop up right on my house. Only the second summer storm of the summer, and it was pretty awesome to watch. If you follow me on Twitter, I made a funny video about it. I was complaining about 2 or 3 hours ago about how we haven't really seen any storms. And then the weather said, okay, well, here you go. We're going to give you a nice, strong storm here. And it had my 2 trees that I planted in my front yard about bending over sideways. And I was like, okay, that's enough. But they're still standing, so that's good news. But let's talk about what's going on right now. Waves of showers and storms, and a lot of these are severe. You got a round of severe storms entering into Indiana, out of Illinois. You got a little spin right over Chicago where this surface low is. With this boundary, you got the trailing cold front right here. You notice everything around behind this cold front, nothing severe, just some general downpours. You lack ingredients. Once it gets on this side of this boundary, you lack ingredients for severe weather. As you can tell, all these storms, and I typically don't have this up. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to kind of show you guys what kind of drives what out here. This is the frontal boundary. This is that warm front. So everything south of this warm front right here is warm and favorable for severe weather. And everything east of this frontal boundary is favorable for severe weather. And sure enough, all these storms are either strong to severe. We got some strong storms in North Georgia, strong storms in eastern PA. This one had a tornado warning on it earlier. This one here in eastern Tennessee is getting that look to it. There's a guy that I follow on Twitter. His name's Billy. He's about to chase this storm. So, there's definitely some storms out there, guys. And I would say, once again, the FV3 model did the best. You even have some slow-moving, strong storms dumping a ton of rain here in southern areas of Alabama. These storms are drifting northward, probably driven off outflow boundaries. And, we got some severe warned storms here in southern Alabama. And here's that storm. I'm located right here. This is Lake Murray right here. And we just had a pretty strong storm that popped up right on top of my house and probably only covered about a 6-7 mile radius area. So, it's just one of those days. Pennsylvania has been very active. We have a severe warned storm in Connecticut. No more severe storms as of right now in Pennsylvania, but we did have a confirmed tornado. And I believe, Louisville, Pennsylvania. You guys correct me, but it did cause damage, guys. So just more so of a widespread rain. Once you get north of this frontal boundary, you lack ingredients for severe weather and just good old-fashioned rainy Sunday afternoon for you folks. So let's go on and switch. And, I do want to show you this really quick. This is what the latest Storm Prediction Center for between now and tomorrow morning. You do have the enhanced risk still remaining. This will likely get decapitated, if you will. This will get chopped in half as this frontal boundary continues to nip away at the severe weather threat. But the slight risk will remain. And like I said, you could have a severe storm outside of even a risk of severe weather. For example, in the general risk of severe storms, you got severe warning storms down here in southern Alabama. So just because you're not in a severe risk category necessarily, you're still dealing with some severe weather regardless. So continue to be careful throughout the overnight hours until the convection eventually diminishes. So we'll talk about tomorrow as detailed as we can. What we do know is we got a slight risk up here, which includes areas of extreme southern North Dakota, and then central and northern South Dakota, and then areas of western Minnesota, and then areas of northeast Wyoming, and then southeast Montana. Marginal risk does extend all the way back through Billings, and then all the way into southwest portions of Montana, then all the way up to the western end of Lake Superior, which does include Duluth, Minneapolis, all the way into northeast Minnesota. And then you have still this trailing boundary, and you have a flow aloft that does support forcing for more widespread strong to severe storms for tomorrow. So the slight risk could get extended back further into Alabama and Mississippi. As of now, just a level 1 out of 5 risk in the dark green extends from Mississippi all the way up to southern New England. Slight risk, which will be probably the epicenter of the worst weather right here in the mid-Atlantic and areas of North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. Tornado risk, they've actually dropped the 2% risk here in the southeast. There was a 2% risk over here, but you do have a 2% risk of a tornado up here in areas of the high plains and the northern plains. The wind threats, both slight risk have that 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour, mile per hour readings. And then hail threat, a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in both of these slight risk areas. So let's talk about the ingredients going into this, and really we'll just speak on the eastern U.S. because what's going on up in the northern portion of the country is a little bit more simple. It's just driven off really a boundary, a frontal boundary. This is what you see here in kind of the shades of purplish, bluish colors right in here, even some pink showing up. This is flow aloft. So this is basically a belt of accelerated winds aloft. Winds pushing anywhere from 30 to 40 knots in the upper levels of the atmosphere, several thousand feet up in the air. So what this does is we keep this moving throughout the morning tomorrow and then into the afternoon. These areas where you see these higher kind of corridors, if you will, of winds aloft, remember winds way above our heads, that's where your best forcing for severe weather is going to be. That's why you have the slight risk of severe storms down into this region, all the way up into the mid-Atlantic, all the way into areas of the Delmarva region. The winds aloft will support better forcing for storms. And honestly, you got the ingredients down here too. You just don't have as much forcing for storms. Notice the flow aloft is much weaker. So that's kind of what's driving this tomorrow. And then we'll reset it for Tuesday a little bit further south. You mix that, that's a kinematic, favorable winds aloft for strong winds, forcing for storms, and the tornado threat. You mix that with the convective energy out there, CAPE, storm fuel, and by about early afternoon, you got storm fuel, CAPE levels reaching well over 2,500 joules per kilogram, all the way up into New Jersey, all the way down here into the deep south. So plenty of fuel to the atmosphere here building into this region. So there's definitely going to be fuel for these storms once they get going to kind of mooch off of. So we'll compare some model guidance. I can tell you what, the HRRR model and the NAM are not on my good side right now. So we're definitely going to be using a little bit more models, taking a little bit more time comparing different model guidance, but we will take a look at the HRRR model here. It says there will be some storms in North Alabama, areas of kind of southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Could they be severe? They could. But, I would venture the worst are going to be is a strong storm or two. Could have some storms fire up in and around the Atlanta area. You still got the rain, storm action still lingering around here in northern Louisiana. And then as we get into the afternoon hours, 4, 5, 6 p.m., you just see very widely scattered storms, some at which that could be strong to severe. Some gusty winds, some hail is possible. Tornado threat will be very low down here because of the flow aloft is very weak, but these could produce flash flooding. And like I said, some gusty winds, strong winds, maybe damaging winds, and that hail threat. And it's going to be hard to predict exactly where they are. I'll be completely honest with you. But it does pretty much pop up in that marginal and slight risk. So where this model, the HRR model, is centering these storms, it's pretty much in that region where the Storm Prediction Center thinks it's going to be. So if I'm in anywhere in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, especially the southern half of Tennessee, even into Arkansas, expect some widespread showers and storms again for tomorrow. And some will be strong to severe again. Now, if you look at the FV3 model in this region, we'll back it up here. Start off for our Monday. And, I would say that the model pretty kind of agrees with the HRR model about there being some convection kind of around the border of Louisiana and Arkansas, a little bit more into Mississippi, and a little bit here in North Georgia and Alabama. But you keep going here, and it really likes a big area of storms developing here in central Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southwest Alabama. Got some big storms developing right here in southern areas of Tennessee, and they become widespread. This would be your probably third day in a row here in Alabama where you have widespread, probably more than 3 days, especially if you're in northern Alabama where you've had storms day after day. But, you stop it here. This is around 6, 7 p.m., and you have a ton of storm action going on in Alabama if this model is correct. And then this could drift into Atlanta as we're rounding off our evening tomorrow night. And then it's over after that. But, both models do like the idea of widespread showers and storms. The FV3 model is a lot more aggressive, but that has been a general theme, that model has been right. So here in the Carolinas, which does include Virginia up into Maryland, up into the Delmarva region, and we will show the southern New England here in a second, says we'll wake up with some rain in the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, maybe even Kentucky, Virginia again, which is nothing new. We've had storms in Kentucky every morning over the last few mornings. Heck, I don't even remember the last morning we didn't have storms in Kentucky, but we'll continue to go through in time. We could have some pop-up downpours up here in West Virginia, quite possible. And then you stop it here. It's around 4, 5, 6 p.m. Maybe some more storm action in the low country of South Carolina. You guys haven't seen a lot in this setup. Some storms popping up in the Midlands, central North Carolina. Some strong storms showing up near and north of Norfolk, Virginia. Some storms showing up. And these, even though they don't show as widespread, 6, 7, 8 p.m. tomorrow, these storms could be dangerous. They really could. I'm not talking about like tornadoes or anything, but there is a very low chance of a tornado. But there is a chance, I would say, and they could reissue the 2% risk again. But, if you're going off this model sometime later tomorrow evening, it shows it being quite active in eastern South Carolina. Some big storms ongoing in and around the Raleigh area, the Norfolk area, and then up here in central Maryland around the Washington, D.C. You keep this going, and it likes the idea of this organizing into a complex of storms riding through all of eastern North Carolina, extreme southeast Virginia. Could be a big lightning show tomorrow in eastern North Carolina. We'll see what happens. And then, we're lingering, and it's almost like the storms are attaching to some kind of boundary here in North Carolina where they just keep re-popping up, and then we move into our 4th of July morning. So we'll see how this unfolds. We will take a look at the FV3 model in this case and see what it likes for tomorrow. And I can tell you this model says that we won't wake up to much rain action in the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, but we'll see. And this model keeps it relatively calm all the way through about early afternoon. And then it really wants to explode the storms here in the eastern Carolinas. And of course, we already talked about Georgia. And then an area of storms here around 4, 5, 6 p.m. here in central Virginia. But it really wants to slam the coastal regions of the Carolinas. So if you're in the beach vacationing for the 4th of July, I would be careful. I would be careful. You could certainly have some powerful storms, even though if you look right here, a lot of the eastern Carolinas just under a marginal risk, a slight risk in northeast North Carolina. But this model really wants to hit the Eastern Carolinas pretty hard tomorrow afternoon, and then even some more storms refiring again tomorrow evening, kind of the same area that the HRRR model likes them to fire up. But could be some big storms up here in Delaware, kind of the coastal regions of Maryland tomorrow evening, and could be dealing with some lingering convection into the overnight hours. We go up here to southern New England. Could be quite stormy for you guys tomorrow. We make our way into the afternoon. Some storms showing up in New York State, the Albany area. I already forgot how y'all pronounce y'all's Albany. But you keep this going here. You get into the afternoon hours. Widespread showers and storms looking possible in southern New York State, western Mass, Connecticut. I do think we will have some severe warm storms again tomorrow evening for this region. So even New York City, I mean, look at Long Island. You got some storms showing up around the 10 p.m. time frame. Could be some a lightning show instead of a fireworks show for you folks in southern New England tomorrow evening. So definitely be aware of this. Some widespread storms are possible for you folks. I mean, lingering all the way into the wee hours of the morning. So, there is going to be storms in the northern plains tomorrow. We'll start off in the morning, and then bang, look, this is around 5, 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. Some big-time supercells firing up here in central areas of South Dakota. This area of South Dakota also. And these could grow up scale as basically a low-level jet begins to get ramped up. And these could turn into a complex of storms. At this point, it's around 9, 10 p.m. You got some big storms showing up. It says they don't really fire up until about late evening for southeast Montana, northeast Wyoming. So I would watch out late into the afternoon to the evening time frame and after in this region for some big-time storms. But you still got severe storms probably ongoing in the eastern Dakotas. And then the rest of what fires up here will drift into probably more so western areas of South Dakota as we get into the overnight hours, and then we'll be dealing with a big complex of storms as we're waking up for a 4th of July morning here in the eastern Dakotas. So that's kind of the rundown of this. We'll go back over this, but I don't think this is going to change much, but just a boundary kind of flying through. Well, I wouldn't say it's flying. It's sagging pretty slow southeast, and you're going to have rounds of severe storms around it. We get into our 4th of July. You're still going to be left with a risk of severe storms. I think it could be quite an active 4th of July for severe storms across the southeast and deep south. And then definitely it's going to be active across the plains, areas of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, the high plains of, eastern and, and northeast Colorado. Right now, of course, we just know there's a 15% risk of severe weather. Okay. And, we only can talk about this to a degree, and we can look at the FV3 model. We start off Tuesday morning, our 4th of July morning. And we'll probably have ongoing convection in the western Dakotas, maybe even Minnesota just north of Minneapolis. And then as we get into the afternoon hours, widespread severe weather showing up anywhere from western to central areas of Minnesota. Even some big storms popping up in central Wisconsin, all the way through Nebraska, central Nebraska, western Nebraska, all the way into eastern Colorado, and then eastern southeast Wyoming. So this will be definitely a corridor of some nasty storms showing up here. So we want to be careful with these, and the details will be much more fine-tuned as we get closer. But it is even showing some storms, in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, some pop-up storms, in the Mississippi Valley. But this will be the epicenter right here, and we keep this going. And I would watch for this to become a big linear threat. We can only go out till about 6, 7 p.m., 4th of July night, which is, of course, when people are going to be blowing off fireworks. But it could be quite active here in the north-central part of the country, where we could have a nasty line of storms flying through. But, you speak of the southeast and then surrounding regions, same kind of deal. It's showing it being very active in Mississippi based off this run of the model. But remember, we're 2 days out. Shows areas of storms popping off in the eastern areas of North Carolina, low country of South Carolina, southeast Georgia. But remember, this is going to change, but it does show quite a bit of activity here in areas of Mississippi, Alabama, even Louisiana. And then this is as far out as it goes, and this takes us to right when the sun's beginning to set for our 4th of July night. And we could be dealing with some storms for sure. It's just going to be hard to pinpoint them, but we know that this will be the epicenter of deep south and then areas of the plains for the storms. Okay? And then obviously we can't get very detailed on day 4 and day 5, but what we do know is the same front that will cause a lot of weather for the 4th of July and tomorrow will cause again more weather further south and east for areas, even higher populated areas like Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, Milwaukee, up to Green Bay. So 15% risk of severe weather already up for Wednesday. And then for the central and southern high plains, Panhandle of Oklahoma, Texas, northeast New Mexico, and areas of the Front Range and eastern Colorado, you have a 15% risk of severe weather. And then for day 5, okay, very active, guys. This takes us to Thursday. Along the high plains, we could have some severe weather, but the details are still very foggy with this, okay? What we do know is this boundary, this frontal cold front, is going to bring us some below average temperatures for pretty much everybody you see in the blue. Now, this could tick a little bit, this could change, but this is basically valid from the July 8th time frame to the 12th. So we do have a chance of below average temperatures in the blue. Of course, the more bluer it gets, the higher the chance for below average temperatures are. But unfortunately for you folks in Texas, this could change, but you're still going to be influenced by upper ridging, okay? And we take it all the way to 8 to 14 days out, and this area of below average temperatures begins to shift over the Ohio Valley areas, the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, and Southeast, Mid-South. But you're still dealing with above average temperatures forecasted for the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. This takes us all the way through mid-July. We're just rolling through summer. I know, guys. It just started technically. But what I worry about is something like this where you have such a big boundary between below average temperatures and above average temperatures. To me, that screams ongoing severe weather continuing because remember, you got a boundary between cooler air and warmer air. So to me, that tells me that we're still going to be dealing with severe weather with the clashing of boundaries. So we'll see what happens. God bless all y'all. Have a great night. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you in the morning.